weeks ago, I started getting pop-up videos on Facebook and YouTube, and I don't know if I clicked on something. I don't remember clicking on anything, but I have just been bombarded with this minimalistic um, mindset through one YouTuber is called the Minimalistic Mom, and uh, books. It seemed like when I was at the thrift shop, the books I kept seeing were about being a minimalist or um, downsizing your wardrobe and getting all of these tips and tricks for becoming less of a mess, I guess you might say. And, the minimalistic mindset is just to do with less, to get rid of things that you aren't using, get rid of things that are just cluttering up your life. And the whole concept behind this less is more is when you have less stuff, you have more time. You are not cleaning as much. So you have less time invested in cleaning and in organizing. You have more access to what you do have because you know where it is. One of the reasons we say I have nothing to wear when our clothes are crammed so tight in our closet is because we really can't see what we have. And so we overlook things that we have, or we spend lots of time looking for things that we can't find because they aren't well organized, and we just have so much stuff to be responsible for. And anyone who knows me knows I'm not a minimalist. Every year when I was a teacher, my big resolution for a new school year was that I was going to keep my desk organized and cleaned off. And 28 years later, it never happened. I never had an organized desk. And if you saw my desk right now, you would know that I'm still that way. It's like if I don't have lots of clutter, I don't feel like I can work. And I've just been reflecting on this concept of less is more, less is more. And I just think God has put this lesson in my mind and in my heart, and given me lots of things to think about in regard to this concept when I'm thinking of my spiritual walk. So here you can see a before and after. I have a closet before and after someone has applied this concept of being organized, only keeping what you need and keeping what you use. And so the meaning, the proverb of less is more, which is kind of an oxymoron. An oxymoron is something that contradicts itself, like a big shrimp. That would be an oxymoron. But it would be that which is of smaller quantity could be of higher quality. Another part of this is if you don't have as many clothing items, the clothing items you do buy, you can invest in better quality. So that's another concept that these minimalistic advocates really promote. And that which is less complicated is often better understood and more appreciated than what is more complicated. Brevity in communication is more effective than verbosity. And I thought of that, sometimes if someone talks too much and just doesn't know when to stop, you eventually just tune out and you don't listen. So brevity, thinking about what you want to say and keeping it concise, that is also part of this concept. I found these two little quotes that I thought were interesting. It is not what you gather, but what you scatter that tells what kind of life you have lived. And so that was powerful to me because I thought, what do people want to remember me for? Is it what I gathered or what I scattered? Is it that I was so worried about my house being a mess that I could never be hospitable and invite people to come into my home, which I've been guilty of many times. And then a minimalism is a guardrail, not a destination. It keeps us moving toward a meaningful life by allowing us to more easily identify and eliminate distractions. And so this idea of eliminating distractions really had me thinking about how I spend my time, where are my efforts going, and how could I improve that? So these are some examples of less is more. If you have less stuff, you have more space. Having less stuff creates more space. Less spending, you have more money. What can you do with that money? Less clothes, more closet space. Less furniture, you have more room in your home. Less social media, more time to read. What would you want to read? For me, I want more time to devote to my Bible study, to the journaling activities, to be able to just really meditate and reflect on the lessons that God is teaching me and showing me. More time to pray, to spend more time in prayer, to be less distracted by other things that cut into my prayer time and my Bible study time. Less driving and more walking, less stress, more sleep. And these are examples from the internet. These aren't examples that I came up with. So this is the minimalistic mindset concepts. And this says, what if I clear my life's clutter to make room for what really matters? So it's getting rid of excess baggage and keeping things that we know are valuable. And I just think it's something we should all reflect on. Our lesson last week was on temptation and how we can use scripture, how we can apply scripture to battle temptations. And this scripture made me think about that, because when we're tempted and we flee the temptation, a lot of times it involves denying ourselves. So I talked about the temptation of worry, being, consumed sometimes by things that I'm worried about. Start thinking about it, and then you go into all the different scenarios of what could happen. What if this and what if that? And pretty soon you are just consumed by it. But applying scripture to that is denying myself the opportunity to mull it over and to think about it. And so I have to change my mindset and change what I'm thinking about. One of our ladies last week talked about dieting and how you have to deny yourself of certain foods. And that's hard, especially when you found comfort, or it's become a habit. I know for me, sometimes eating is a habit. I want a snack at night before I go to bed or in the evening. So Luke 9:23 says, then he said to them all, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. So denying ourselves is sometimes saying no to the things we want because we want something else more. When you think about the story of Mary and Martha in Luke 10:38-42, as Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all of the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and that will not be taken away from her. And so what he really wants us to do is not be so busy, not be so burdened by our things and our stuff and our cleaning and our chores, that we never have time to sit at his feet and learn from him. And while it's necessary, we're always going to have things that have to be done. It comes down to our priorities. Where are our priorities, and are we able to simplify our life in order to create that time. And I thought about contentment and these words in Philippians 4:12. Um, when I learned Philippians 4, this is one verse that really resonated with me and comes to my mind a lot. I know what it is to be in need, and this is Paul speaking. He knew what it was to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. And then we know Philippians 4:13. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. So that verse is talking about this. We are able to be content regardless of our situation. And, I think about living in plenty or in want. Living in plenty, I think we could all say that we are there. We have food and we have a home and we have so many things. But do our things interfere with our relationship with the Lord? I started thinking about what distracts me. And you remember, not this year, but last year, my word for the year was focus. And so less distraction give you more focus. Less gossip gives you more encouragement. Less past, you can think more about the future. Less toxicity, less talk. I don't think I said that word right, but it's not coming to my mind. Toxicity, more positivity. So for me, food, social media, work, worry, comparison. You get on Facebook and you see everyone else's life. Before you know it, you can start thinking and comparing your family to their family, your home to their home, your car to their car, their clothes to your clothes. I mean, it can just become way more than you even want to think about. You can be distracted by TV. For me, my hobbies, this craft room, you can tell by seeing what all's behind me. I have lots and lots of things that I like to do. Collections, a collection that's not very meaningful. Could that money be going to a ministry or something that's more valuable in the big scheme of things? Cleaning, chores, the entertainment that we choose, all of these things. What do I need to let go of? So these are some things that came to my mind when I was reflecting on this less is more concept. And these are the things that have just been popping in my mind over the past week or so. If I have less stuff in my home, I have less cleaning I have to do, and I can have more time to serve. I have more time to put toward these lessons. I have more time to do acts of service for others, and just like sending cards. Less unnecessary buying, more money for helping others or ministries. Less worry, more praise. Less TV and social media, more Bible reading. Less gossip, more building people up. Less unhealthy eating choices, more improved health. Less reading about prayer, more actual prayer time with our Father. And that was a book I read about prayer. The authors, at the end of each chapter, he had a prayer. And in his prayer, he asked God to give him more of a desire to actually pray than read and study about prayer. And that just really made an impact on me. And we can fill in the blank with anything. Less what will lead to more of what. And then I kept thinking of others. So I came and made another slide. Less feeling love and more showing love. Less being shy and more being bold. Less reliance on self and more reliance on God. Less doubting my ability and more confidence in God's ability. And this weekend, I got to spend some time with some great ladies at the Women of Joy conference in Pigeon Forge. And we heard this repeatedly: less of me and more of him. So my journaling idea, I wanted to keep it simple this week too. I want it to be minimalistic. I want it to be just this, but instead of my favorite toys, it is going to say less is more. So I'll show you my journaling idea. Here's what I did with that, being gone all weekend and preparing to be away for the weekend. I didn't do a 2-page spread like I typically do. So Evelyn, this was one about a week. We had a lesson on being revived, having revival in our hearts and in our life, and keeping that excitement and enthusiasm. And we learned about the concept of breath prayers, which is taking deep breaths and saying, quoting scripture as we're breathing. This one was on all of the scriptures that refer to in the Lord, like I am strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Rejoice in the Lord, delight yourself in the Lord. So most weeks I do a 2-page spread, but this week or last week, I just wanted to keep it simple again and just really focus on my little booklet where I put in scripture. And all of this scripture is written in the Bible. So we could say it is written and quote that scripture when we feel tempted. And so away with you, Satan, as in Matthew 4:10. And then for this week, I just did these words, less is more, and I'm going to show you how I did that. And I've shown you before. I use a brush tip, a marker that has that brush tip, they're called, but they'll do wide strokes. And I just did in cursive, less. And then I came back and did those down strokes. Everywhere I went down, I made it darker and wider. And with these brush pens, when you press down, it will do that. Like you can make it really small and then press down more when you make those down strokes. Light going up, down, press harder, and then light going up. So that's another way to do that. A lot of times I end up doing it all just because I'm not used to pressing down so hard. Hard, light, hard, light, hard, and then up. So it's all about your pressure that you put on the brush tip. That's what I did here in the middle, just those big letters. And then with a pink ink pen, I wrote out Luke 9:13. And then I'm going to write out the verse down here about being content, Philippians 4:12. And then I'm putting in here just the things that I want to, and I'm doing it in gray ink, which is an odd color, but just something that doesn't stand out so much, like maybe just blue or black. I'm writing the things that I want to do less of, like less social media, more Bible study. In the 15 or 20 minutes that I sit and scroll mindlessly, I could, really have a good portion of scripture read and meditated on. Less worry, more praise. Less TV, more conversations. It's unreal how I can just sit and watch TV for an hour and my husband sitting next to me and not even speak to him. So I want to improve on that. And I'm going to do that with this whole page. I'm just going to have this whole page full, almost like we did on this one, but we used all of that color. And we just made it like a big collage. That was the lesson on our spiritual posture. But this one is just going to be kind of a simple page. I'm just going to do the one page, but if you want to, you could do a full 2 pages. So I'm going to leave that up to you.